Hi, welcome to my channel. I'm Dana and this is Delighted to DIY. Now let's get into the video. To start, I took a package of chopsticks from Dollartree and glued two together in opposite directions by flipping one upside down so the skinny end is at the top. I repeated this with the second pair of chopsticks from the package. Today's video is part of an open collab hosted by four great DIYers. Lisa from Lisa & Company, Sandra from DIYs at Chauvin's Nest, Sonia from Domestic Diva DIY, and Antoinette from Simple Yet Chic. I'm going to cut a coffee stir stick in half with my scissors to help strengthen the connection where I glued the two sets of chopsticks together. Using my hot glue gun, I applied glue along the top and in between the ends of the chopsticks to hold them together and to keep the stir sticks secure. I then flipped them over to do the same thing on the other side. Repeat this process with another package of chopsticks from the Dollar Tree so that you have two long sticks in total. With white polypropylene rope and hot glue, I will wrap the rope around the entire length of both sticks. Initially, I was wrapping the rope around the sticks and struggled as the rope wanted to separate. I discovered holding the rope and turning the sticks worked much better. You'll want to glue after every couple of rotations and keep sliding your rope upwards so that none or very little of the chopsticks are showing through. Wrap the rope as close to the bottom as possible on all ends and cut off any remaining rope. Use hot glue to secure the cut end and prevent it from fraying. It doesn't have to be pretty as we're going to be covering the ends later on. Here's what the chopsticks should look like when they are done. With a dog bandana from Dollar Tree, we will be making strips of fabric. I started by cutting off the stitching from one of the sides. Next, I counted 3 squares, then cut all the way up the bandana, making a strip of fabric. I continued counting 3 squares, then cutting strips all the way along the bandana. Next, you'll need 2 plastic soap containers that you store bar soap in. I found mine at Dollarama. I used white ones so I wouldn't have to paint them, but if you can't find the white ones, use whatever color you can get and paint them white. I'll be using hot glue to attach 1/2 of a soap container to each strip of fabric. I counted over about 5 squares, then glued the container on. Using more of the coffee stir sticks from Dollarama, I created rungs to our ladder sign that will act as supports for the fabric strips so that the containers won't be falling forward with their weight. I placed 2 stir sticks under the sides of the ladder, then used one of the fabric strips for placement. I needed to cut about 1 inch off of each stir stick to achieve the right width. Using hot glue, I glued the ends of the stir sticks to the back of the ladder sides. I used all 4 of the strips of fabric to eyeball the spacing of each down the ladder. Once they were in place, I slid 2 stir sticks in behind the fabric strips, then removed the fabric strips so I could adjust their placement. I used the strip of fabric one last time to ensure it'd cover the two stir sticks before finally hot gluing them in place. I repeated this process 3 more times for each strip of fabric. Now is time to glue the fabric strips with the containers attached to each pair of stir sticks, acting as rungs. I put hot glue along each stir stick, then eyeballed the placement to as close as center on the back of the container as possible. Again, I repeated this 3 more times so that all the fabric strips with containers were attached to the ladder rungs. With the back of the ladder facing me, I folded over the end of the fabric strips and hot glued them down on the back of the stir sticks and container. Off camera, I measured the height of the inside of a container to determine how large I could make each letter. I used Cricut Design Space on my laptop to create a simple decal of the word home. After weeding away the excess vinyl, I cut each letter individually, then cut and applied transfer tape to each letter. This transfer tape is from the Dollartree. If you're wondering why I'm using such bizarre items to create this DIY, it's because here in Ontario, Canada, we are in a lockdown that has restricted in-store shopping to essentials only. So the hosts challenged us to create projects using only items from the essential aisles. I eyeballed the placement of each letter, but you could always measure for center if eyeballing isn't your thing. I spelled out the word home, working my way down the ladder. I used Oracle 541 vinyl, which worked great on the 2 containers with smooth backs, but I had trouble getting the decals to stick to the backs with the ridges. Going slowly worked, and although I didn't due to time, I'd probably suggest coating each letter with Mod Podge to help the decals adhere long term. If you have any tips for working with decals on non-smooth surfaces, let me know in the comments. To cover the ends of the chopsticks, I took twine from Dollartree and started about 3 rope rotations down from the top. I used a small bit of hot glue to attach the twine, then glued a bit after each rotation to make sure the twine was secure. Keep gluing and wrapping the twine up to the top, then begin gluing and coiling the twine toward the center of the circle you are creating. I highly suggest using finger protectors or something to help place the twine into the glue to prevent burning your fingers. Repeat this process for each end of the rope-covered chopsticks. Next, I took my hot glue and in sections laid a thin bead of glue along all edges of each container to glue the twine to. To finish off the back, I took a black Sharpie and colored in any parts of the stir sticks that were showing. I tied a small hanger out of jute twine and used hot glue to attach it to the back of the first container. After looking at the ladder sign, I felt it was a little bare, so I made this jute twine bow. I apologize for not filming this part. I played around with placement before gluing it down where I felt it looked best. I also glued the tails of the bow to the sides to keep them in place, then trimmed the ends. If you liked this DIY, I'd love it if you gave it a thumbs up and shared it with your friends. This was my first video of many DIYs to come, and if you're interested to see what else I'll make, why don't you hit that subscribe button. Thanks for watching. Bye! If you made it this far, here's what the sign looks like embellished with greenery. I used this greenery from Dollarama that I had in my stash.